When I tell you my ex was terrible to me, I mean every word. He drained me emotionally, chipped away at my confidence, and left me with scars I thought I'd never shake off. But even after the breakup, somehow we both kept following each other on Instagram. Maybe out of curiosity, maybe out of sheer pettiness. One ordinary afternoon, scrolling through his stories, I saw him post about this singer he idolized. He was over the moon because that singer had liked one of his posts. He gushed about it like it was the best thing that had ever happened to him, and that's when an idea sparked in me. Not out of revenge, not out of malice, but out of a strange mix of curiosity and defiance. I followed that same singer. To my surprise, not only did he follow me back, but he also sent me a direct message. My heart skipped for a second. It wasn't romantic or dramatic, just casual. Still, it was enough to stir something inside me. So, I did something bold. I took a screenshot of his follow, a screenshot of his message, and sent them straight to my ex with a little question. Hey, do you know this guy? I saw you were following him, and he just randomly followed and messaged me. The reaction was instant and explosive. He panicked. He begged me to let him use my messages to talk to the singer, like somehow I was holding the key to his dream connection. I laughed in disbelief and told him no. When he pushed harder, I cut him off entirely. I blocked him right there. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I had the upper hand, and my name is Claire, and I am 35 years old. This story isn't just about Instagram games or petty screenshots. It's about breaking free from someone who never respected me and realizing I had more power than I ever thought. The moment I blocked him, I thought that would be the end of it. A clean break. But with my ex, nothing was ever that simple. The very next day, I started receiving texts from unknown numbers. At first, they were short. Why did you block me? Then longer. Please, just let me explain. I need to talk to him. You don't understand what this means to me. I knew it was him. He was desperate, and desperation had always been his most dangerous trait. I ignored the messages, but they kept coming, day and night, like he was unraveling. Later that week, a mutual friend called me. Her voice was cautious, like she already regretted dialing my number. Claire, he told me you're keeping something from him. Something big. He's saying you're blocking his chance at success. I almost laughed out loud. Success? From a singer following me back on Instagram? The absurdity of it all only made me angrier. This wasn't about opportunity, it was about control. He couldn't stand the idea that something he valued had slipped into my hands instead of his. For years, he had dictated the rhythm of our relationship, what I wore, who I spoke to, even how I reacted online. And now, watching him lose his grip was like watching a tower crumble, brick by brick. That night, another message popped up from a number I didn't recognize. You're going to regret this if you don't help me. My heart pounded. It was no longer just desperate, it was threatening. And that was the moment I realized. This little game had just escalated into something far more dangerous than I anticipated. When I read that message, "You're going to regret this if you don't help me," my stomach dropped. For a moment, I sat frozen, phone in hand, my thumb hovering over the screen. Was this really happening? All this chaos because of a single screenshot? I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked the number instantly. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't stop there. He had always been relentless, and this new obsession gave him fuel. The next day, I received a string of emails from an address I didn't recognize. The subject lines were all the same. You ruined everything. In one of them, he wrote, "That singer was my chance, Claire. You know how much he means to me. You just had to interfere, didn't you? You always wanted to be the center of attention." I felt the anger boiling inside me. He wasn't just hurt, he was blaming me, twisting the story into his favorite narrative, that I was the villain, the saboteur, the one who destroyed his dreams. I called my best friend, Sophie, because I needed someone to ground me. He's losing it, I told her, my voice shaking. I didn't even do anything wrong, and he's acting like I stole his life. Sophie sighed. Claire, this is classic him. He can't stand not being in control. You need to protect yourself. Don't engage. Don't give him a single opening. Her words were sharp but true. Still, I couldn't shake the unease gnawing at me. He was spiraling, and I didn't know how far he would go. That night, just as I was drifting off to sleep, my phone buzzed again. A new number. One line. "You'll wish you never blocked me." I didn't sleep at all. For the first time since our breakup, I felt genuinely afraid. By the next morning, the fear had hardened into anger. I had given him too much power over me in the past, and I swore I wouldn't let it happen again. Still, the constant stream of new numbers and threats was exhausting. I decided to save every message and email. If things escalated further, I wanted proof. 2 days later, I went out for groceries. It was an ordinary errand, the kind that usually gave me a sense of calm. But as I pushed my cart down the produce aisle, I noticed someone standing at the end, staring. My chest tightened. It was him. I froze. We hadn't seen each other face to face since the breakup. His eyes locked onto mine, filled with something between desperation and rage. He walked closer, his voice low but sharp. "You could have helped me, Claire. You could have done one simple thing. Instead, you made me look like a fool." I stepped back, clutching the cart like a shield. "Stay away from me," I said firmly, though my voice trembled. "You don't get to intimidate me anymore." He smirked, leaning in just enough for me to hear. "You'll regret this." Then, as quickly as he appeared, he turned and walked out of the store, leaving me shaken to my core. I rushed home, heart pounding, hands trembling so badly I could barely hold my keys. That was the moment I knew this was no longer harmless drama, it was harassment. He had crossed the line from emotional manipulation into stalking. That night, I filed a police report. It felt surreal, writing down his name, describing the messages, the encounter in the store. Part of me felt guilty, but a stronger part whispered, "No more." He doesn't get to scare you into silence. Still, as I crawled into bed, the question echoed in my mind. What if the police can't stop him? Filing the report gave me a small sense of relief, but I wasn't naive. I knew a simple piece of paper couldn't stop someone like him. Still, a few days later, an officer called me. "Ms. Claire," he said calmly, "we've contacted your ex. He's been warned to stay away. If he contacts you again, let us know immediately." For a moment, I breathed easier. Maybe this would finally scare him into silence. But the calm didn't last. That evening, a private message appeared on my Instagram, this time from a fake account. No photo, no followers, just one line. "You think the police will protect you? They won't." My blood ran cold. He wasn't just ignoring the warning. He was mocking it. I screenshotted everything and sent it to the officer, who promised to keep an eye on it. But promises felt flimsy compared to the dread curling in my stomach. The next day, Sophie came over with takeout and a bottle of wine. "You need a break," she insisted. "He feeds on your fear. Don't let him see it." We laughed a little, trying to distract ourselves, but just as we were cleaning up, my phone buzzed again. Another message from another fake account. "You'll never get rid of me." Sophie looked at me, her expression dark. "Claire, he's obsessed. This isn't about the singer anymore. This is about control. He wants to break you." Her words hit me hard because they were true. It had never been about Instagram, or even the stupid singer. This was about him refusing to accept that I had moved on, that I had power, and that he couldn't stand losing it. I poured myself another glass of wine, my hands unsteady. One thought echoed in my mind. If the police warning didn't stop him, what would? I tried to live as normally as I could. Work, errands, evenings with Sophie, anything to keep my mind off him. But paranoia became my shadow. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach knotted. Every stranger's glance on the street made me wonder if he was near. One night, I came home from work and immediately felt that something was off. My front door was locked, but the small rug inside was slightly crooked. My keys were on the counter, exactly where I had left them. But the way the curtains had been drawn wasn't how I left them that morning. I froze in the middle of my living room. Was I imagining things? Or had he been inside? I checked every room, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the silence. No one was there. Nothing seemed stolen. But the air felt violated. The next morning, I found the answer. Propped against my windshield was an envelope. Inside was a single photo, me, sitting on my couch the night before, watching TV. My blood ran ice cold. He had been inside. Watching me, I rushed to the police again, shaking, waving the photo in front of them. The officer's face hardened. "Claire, this has gone far beyond harassment. We're opening a formal case. You need extra locks, cameras, and someone you can call if you feel unsafe." I installed cameras that same day. I changed my locks. I even stayed with Sophie for a few nights. But no amount of security erased the truth. He had already crossed into my sanctuary. He had made it clear. He wasn't just lurking online anymore, and the thought that haunted me was this: if he could sneak in once, what would stop him from coming back? For days, I barely slept. Every creak in the house felt like a warning. Every notification on my phone made my heart race. The police had told me to stay vigilant, but what did that even mean? Vigilance didn't feel like protection. Then one Friday evening, I came home late. My porch light was on, casting long shadows across the steps. As I reached for my keys, I heard it breathing. Slow, deliberate, just a few feet behind me. I spun around, and there he was. My ex standing in the dim light, his eyes wild, his smile twisted. "Claire," he said softly, "we need to talk." I backed up toward the door, my keys trembling in my hand. "You're not supposed to be here. The police told you to stay away." He laughed bitterly. "The police? They don't care. But you could fix this. You could help me. If you just let me talk to him, everything would be fine." The singer. Always back to the singer. I stared at him in disbelief, anger surging through my fear. "This isn't about him. This is about you not letting go." For a split second, his face twisted with rage. He stepped closer, his voice rising. "You owe me, Claire. After everything I gave you, after everything I sacrificed, you owe me this one thing." I fumbled with my phone, dialing emergency services with shaking hands. "Stay back," I warned, voice breaking. The dispatcher's voice filled the silence. "Emergency services? What's your location?" Hearing that, he froze. His jaw clenched, his fists tight, but he didn't move closer. He glared at me, then turned and ran into the night. I collapsed against the door, tears streaming down my face, phone still pressed to my ear. The police arrived minutes later, but he was already gone. That night, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't going to stop until something, or someone, forced him to. After that night on my porch, I knew I couldn't live like this anymore. The police had seen enough. With the photo, the messages, and now the confrontation, they advised me to file for a restraining order. The process felt overwhelming. I sat in a courthouse waiting room, clutching a folder stuffed with evidence, screenshots, emails, the photo on my couch, even Sophie's written statement. My hands trembled as I signed the papers, my name etched alongside his in cold black ink. When the judge called my case, my heart nearly stopped. He wasn't there, thank God, but just hearing his name read aloud made my skin crawl. The judge listened carefully as I described everything, and then, finally, she spoke the words I had been desperate to hear. "Effective immediately, a restraining order will be issued. He is legally prohibited from contacting you in any form." Walking out of that courtroom, I felt lighter for the first time in weeks. Sophie hugged me tight. "You did the right thing," she whispered. "Now he can't hurt you." But later that evening, as I sat alone in my living room, doubt crept in. Paper was just paper. What if he ignored it like he ignored the police warning? What if this only made him angrier? My fears were confirmed sooner than I expected. 2 nights later, my phone buzzed with another unknown number. The message was short, chilling. "You think a piece of paper will stop me?" I stared at the screen, my chest tight, my pulse racing. He knew about the restraining order, and he was daring me to believe it meant anything. The message about the restraining order shattered any illusion of safety. I knew then that he wasn't just reckless, he was determined. And determination mixed with obsession is dangerous. That weekend, I stayed at Sophie's house. We tried to keep things normal, movies, wine, long conversations, but I could feel the weight of a shadow everywhere I went on Sunday night. Just after midnight, my phone lit up with a motion alert from my home security camera. My stomach dropped. I opened the app and saw him, standing in my driveway, staring directly into the lens. He didn't try to hide, didn't cover his face. He just stood there for a full minute before walking out of frame. I called the police immediately. When they arrived, they checked the area, but he was gone. "We'll add this to the case," one of the officers said, but his tone was tired, like he'd said the same thing too many times before. The next morning, though, things escalated to the point of no return. I woke up to dozens of missed calls and texts from neighbors. They had spotted him pacing up and down the street in front of my house, shouting my name, demanding I come outside. By the time the police arrived, he had smashed one of my garden lights and was pounding on my front gate. They tackled him to the ground, handcuffs snapping around his wrists as he screamed my name like a curse. Watching from Sophie's window, my knees nearly buckled. It was over, at least I hoped it was. For the first time, he wasn't just a threat hiding in the shadows. He was caught, but even as they drove him away, his words echoed in my mind. "You'll regret this." The morning after his arrest, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at a cup of coffee I couldn't bring myself to drink. The house was quiet, but the silence no longer felt threatening, it felt earned. The police informed me he was facing charges for violating the restraining order, harassment, and trespassing. For the first time, the law was truly on my side. My lawyer explained that with the evidence I had collected, the screenshots, the emails, the photo inside my home, he didn't stand much of a chance. Relief washed over me, but it was tangled with something heavier. Fear doesn't vanish overnight. Even with him behind bars, I still checked my locks twice, still looked over my shoulder in parking lots. Healing, I realized, was going to take time. One evening, Sophie sat across from me with a glass of wine. "Claire," she said softly, "you took back your life. Do you see that? You're not his victim anymore. You're your own person again." Her words stayed with me. For so long, I had let him dictate the rhythm of my life, through manipulation, through fear, through control. But now, for the first time, the rhythm was mine. Looking back, I don't regret sending that screenshot. It exposed his desperation, his obsession, and ultimately freed me from the illusion that he'd ever let me go peacefully. It was messy, terrifying, and painful, but it forced me to find my strength. And if anyone listening has been through something similar, I want you to hear this. Your safety, your peace, your freedom, they're worth fighting for. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Thank you for listening all the way until the end. If my story resonated with you, I hope you'll subscribe, leave a like, and maybe even share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, knowing you're not alone is the first step to taking your power back.